Hello my friends, it is Aimee Esther here with my special guest, my husband Joshua, and he's here to talk about how a spouse or partner can support someone who is struggling with chronic illness. As we know, as people struggle with chronic illness, or if you know someone who has a chronic illness, we know that it does not just affect you, it affects those around you. So today we are going to get expert advice from someone who lives with this every day, and he's going to teach us how to be a good supporting role with someone who has a chronic illness. And if you haven't been here before and you don't even know who I am, I have several chronic illnesses: POTS, SIBO, endometriosis, PCOS, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome. I have chronic migraines. Am I missing something?
I don't know.
Probably more. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of chronic illnesses, and if you want to learn about those, you can watch all my other videos. Today, though, we're just going to talk about his perspective. So would you start off by kind of sharing the story just quickly about everything that happened, but from your point of view?
Sure. So we were happily married about 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago now. And that's right. Is it 3.5? Mm-hmm. All right. We were married 3.5 years ago, and after we got married, we went to a honeymoon in Jackson Hole, and we went out to eat all the time, and it was a lot of fun. And we ended up getting some sort of food poisoning, is at least what we thought it was, because we were both just so sick. And eventually what happened was I got better, and she sort of didn't. Her stomach just couldn't really process the foods that she was eating. It would just hurt. And then it just gradually devolved into this super bad pain and this, like she said, chronic headaches and lack of focus. She couldn't stand for very long. She was running out of energy. All this time I did my best to sort of help, and as a classic spouse would, I tried to help her take stuff off of her plate. I tried to reduce stress in her life and reduce her responsibilities, because I knew that she was just struggling so badly. I wasn't sure if she could do them, if she had the energy and had the motivation to do that. So that was the big first thing that I tried to do, is I tried to reduce her load, essentially. From her perspective, maybe she thought that I was treating her like an invalid, or treating her like someone who couldn't do anything. And I don't know, maybe you should answer that now.
I think there were times where I felt that way, but not because of what you were doing, but just because of the situation. I just felt like I couldn't be the wife that I wanted to be. I was teaching school at the time, and our plan was that I had just finished college, so that I would teach and I would make money while he finished college, and then we would start our family, and then we would switch and I would stay home and he would work. That was kind of the plan. Of course, life never goes according to plan.
Didn't quite work out that way.
But for me, it was like I wasn't fulfilling this role that the expectation that I thought our marriage would be like. And so I just felt like I just wasn't living up to that.
Yeah. So another aspect of it from my perspective was, and I hinted at this before, but to some degree it felt like I had married someone who suddenly was a different person. Before we got married, we were going to the gym almost daily. She dragged me there because I hated going to the gym, but eventually I learned to love it. And we were so active and just had a lot of fun, and we're always laughing.
Healthy.
Yeah, eating good foods. And you couldn't affect me that much, though, while we were still dating. I still ate a bunch of junk food.
Still had your ice cream.
I still had
That's all
yes.
you need.
Yes, of course. But so that feeling of unfamiliarity with a person who's so important to you really struck me really hard. Really, really, really hard. Really. So I ended up having to have a sort of shift in my state of mind, where I had to stop thinking about her as she was and start thinking about her as she was then. Essentially, not the girl I dated, but rather the person who I married who needed my help. Because at the end of the day, it was still Aimee. And it was still her. I just needed to sort of help her come out of this trial that she was going through. And like I said before, rediscover herself in a sense of being able to do the things that she loves and do the things that she used to do. Maybe not all of them, but at the very least, help her reclaim some portion of who she was before.
Yeah, thank you. So I have a few questions here that I want to ask Joshua. So my first question is, how has our relationship changed since my chronic illness developed?
That's a good question. How has it changed? I would say that the biggest factor is that just whatever expectations I had for our marriage from the get-go, I sort of had to adjust and just say, you know what? Maybe we were planning on being travelers. Maybe we were planning on, having a big yard. Or maybe we were planning on living somewhere that was really hot. Chronic illness in her life and subsequently in my life has essentially removed those things from the equation. We barely travel anymore. We are looking long-term to live somewhere colder because that typically helps her. The heat exhaustion is really bad, especially now. It's the middle of July.
I have a cold pack on my lap.
Yeah. And essentially the first thing, one of the big ways that it's changed our relationship is that I've had to sort of change the idea of our relationship in my head. I've had to cut off superfluous elements and just say, you know what? Let's focus on the important things, the core of the matter, which is us, which is the relationship that I share with Aimee and that she shares with me. Because without that, you don't really have a good foundation for your relationship, and you'll start to question, well, why am I with this person? Which is a terrible position to be in because of chronic illness, which is no fault of anyone's.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing we've learned in our 3 years of marriage, whether you have chronic illness or not, is just not to have such high expectations, not to have really any expectations for...
I would say not to have expectations that are yours for the other person.
Yeah.
If I expect her to have, dishes done by the time I get home from work, I'll be disappointed some days, right? And then those just plant seeds of resentment because it's like, well, I expect you to do this. Yeah. It's the same way. I have to essentially say, you know what? If she's feeling good one day, I'll take it. And maybe we can go out and have some fun. Maybe we can, do any number of activities that would be difficult to do while she's sick. It seems like so many times she gets feeling sick and it's like, well, I guess we're watching TV tonight. Instead of doing chores that we maybe needed to do or going out on a date or shopping or anything like that.
So this obviously takes a lot of toll on you because you're kind of taking some of the burden from me. So how do you heal yourself? What do you do to have time for yourself and have your emotional healing while you are taking this extra burden?
So I'm going to make a point that sort of seems to be the opposite of the point I made earlier, where you need to be selfish when you can be, when you can afford it. When she's having really hard days, and you can tell, and maybe this is when a person in your life is having a really hard day and needs you to give of yourself to them, then you need to do it. You need to essentially be selfless and say, this is just my role. This is how I can support, and do your best. But then there will be days where it's maybe not as bad or not as urgent. And on those days, it's almost like a service dog. When the coat is on, when the little jacket's on the service dog, the service animal, you need to let them do their job. You don't pet them, you don't play with them. But then you have to understand that when they take that little jacket off, that's when they're allowed to be dogs again. And you need the same sort of thing, right? So just keeping that metaphor in mind of the service dog, just make sure that you allow yourself time to be you. Otherwise, you're going to be so drained that you can't help your significant other. You can't help your partner. And when you can't do that, then you can't help either of you. And it just leads to a really bad downward spiral where nobody is feeling better.
How has my chronic illness blessed your life?
It's the classic, it's helped me become a better person. I can hopefully be a little more detailed than that. It's helped me learn how to work harder, have a better work ethic, and be more diligent. It's helped me be more selfless. Because when there's a person who's really struggling in your life, it's easier to notice and it's easier to say, maybe there's something I can do. Of course, if you don't have that sort of struggle going on in your life, if you don't have chronic illness, or maybe it's not so severe, I would encourage you as their partner to still look out for them and help them. Look for the small things that would ease their burden, doing dishes every now and again, or cleaning the house, trying to find things to do without needing to be asked. And just all in all, it's helped me to understand and sympathize more with my wife. It helps me to keep things in perspective and understand what's really important in our relationship.
Yeah, thank you. I do think, like, I've made videos about this before, but for me, I feel like I've just got to a place where I do feel like this is a blessing in disguise, because it's really just shaped my life in a different way than I thought it would be. And I just feel like we have both, like, learned so much, and it's really helped us just become better people. I know that's like the classic answer.
Yeah, that's why I was...
But it's true. It does. And do you have any other advice or anything else you want to share with anyone who's going through this right now?
Just persevere. There's always going to be something new to help. And maybe, bad things will come along with it. And maybe because one of your illnesses depreciates or sort of devolves into another even worse thing, like, you can always find those silver linings. Never feel like you just can't adapt, because whether you have the chronic illness or your partner has the chronic illness, you can pull through. You just need to keep on pushing forward and understand that maybe the best part of your life is the other person. Not necessarily the illness that comes along with them, but them. Because we always said the first year of our marriage was one of the worst years of our lives, but the best part of it was the marriage. Well, sounds like that's our cue to end the video. The baby's crying in the other room, so I'm gonna go get her.
Okay. Well, thank you for watching this, I almost said episode, this video.
Find out next time.
Thank you for watching, and if it is your first time here, consider hitting that subscribe button. I make lots of videos about life with chronic illness. My baby is
Babe, you shouldn't be doing this. So
Why?
just let me go get her, and then you just do it by yourself.
Okay, go get her. I'll sit on both chairs.
Which is not right.
Okay, sorry about that. My poor baby is sick. Okay. I think he's taking care of her. But let me just wrap this up by saying thank you for watching this video. If it is your first time here, consider hitting that subscribe button. I make videos about my life with chronic illness. I am a mother and a wife, and I just like to still do all the things that I love to do, but with several chronic illnesses. So if you are interested in learning more or getting more tips and tricks, make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit that bell notification so you don't miss a single video, and I will see you on the next video. Thank you.